Hey guys, what's going on? So it's the middle of my day, it's Tuesday, and I figured why don't I do something like, and call it 2 Minute Tuesday, in which I try and take 2 minutes to do a brief reflection on something that I've learned over the years that I do my job. What I thought I'd reflect on today is what it is that I thought would happen in treatment when I went to rehab, and what in fact it is that I learned in rehab. So what I thought would happen in rehab really is I thought, right, what you do is you get there, you have a bit of a detox, you start feeling better, they give you a bucket of skills, a few tools that you take home with you, and once you get home, you sober and you stay sober. That is an illusion. That is not how it works. You don't go to rehab to get sober. You go to rehab to learn how to stay sober. So a lot of people get sober, but very few people manage to stay sober. And what I mean by that is that people that have been in a destructive relationship with drugs or alcohol or whatever it is that they did. So I thought, let me just expand on what it is that helps me to stay sober, or that kept me sober, as opposed to just getting sober, relapsing, getting sober, relapsing. So here we go. It's going to be 8 in 2 minutes. So let's put 2 minutes on the clock and see how it goes. The first thing I learned is that I do not need universal approval. In other words, to say no. It was one of the most difficult things for me. I was in a situation where I was always trying to please everybody, and there's something that came from home where I constantly tried to seek out approval, so I learned how to say no. The second thing is to take responsibility for the consequences of my actions, not only for my actions in the current and in the future, but the consequences of my past actions. That is to say that I had to recognize that I had made mistakes, that it was my responsibility to repair those mistakes, and that I would achieve that in doing, not in talking about it, but in the doing, that it was in the doing that I would fulfill my promise. The third thing I learned was that reality was really not the problem, that I was problematic, that my responses to what happens in reality was problematic, and you've often heard me say that, and that remains a huge truth for me. The fourth thing I learned was to tolerate the stress. That is to say, something happens, and in between the period between when it happens and when I know what I'm going to do, there might be some distress, or I might experience distress, and it was to tolerate that period, whether it's a minute or whether it's a few hours or a day or two, even how to tolerate that feeling of uncertainty and distress that I might feel in that time. So that is to say, to learn some impulse control, not to have something happen and to immediately react to what happened and to try to fix things, to tolerate the distress of not knowing what to do for a while, or until I managed to ask for help. The fifth thing I learned was that I had a right to take my time in making a decision that affected anything in my life. So when I had to make a decision that would affect something or an outcome in my life, I had the right to take my time. And in order to do that, I developed a standard response, which was, I'll get back to you, which gave me the opportunity to think things through very carefully before I decided on what course of action I would take. Of course, the important thing was to then get back to people, not to make the promise and say I would get back to you, and not to get back to people. This is still something I have to be very, very mindful of. The sixth thing I learned was to live in the moment and to let go of the hope of outcome. In other words, that I would engage a situation because I thought it was the right thing to do, or to engage the situation without hope of outcome. The minute I had an expectation of what the outcome would be, I would get myself into trouble, and continue to strive towards working for that outcome, as opposed to being happy and content with what I thought was a good enough effort to get there. That is not to say that I'd be happy with mediocrity, but that I would be happy with what is good enough is good enough. The seventh thing I learned was that I could allow my curiosity about life to become realities. At that point, I was stuck in a business which I really did not enjoy in the world of commerce, and that I was allowed to be curious about what else life had to offer, that I could let go of what somebody else had decided would be my destiny, that I would allow myself to become curious about what the other possibilities were in my life, what else I could do, which is what opened the door for me to do what I do today. And then the eighth thing I learned was to be kind to myself, to give myself a break. Every once in a while, that I was going to screw up and I was going to make mistakes, that it's human after all to do so long as I take responsibility for those mistakes and make sure that I follow up by doing the right thing. Okay, those are my 8 things. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you can relate, and I hope that in some small way that could maybe assist you in any area of your life to do things differently, or assist you in the way that you live, and to empower yourself, give yourself permission to see things differently. So that's my story. Thanks once again for listening. For those of you that haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed what I had to say, please smash the like button. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you. See you. Bye.